Hi there, Tom and Kat and Lori and Brooke, and I see all sorts of people again. Absolutely, if there's anyone you know is missing from this particular conversation, please, I welcome them to come. And if you know anyone that you think should be here for this quantum wake up call, who signed up for this quantum wake up call, please, give them a shout out. Should be yummy and delicious. And hugs right back to you, Cheryl. And Kat is just saying my son was making fun as he overheard our call, and I told him that I'm not from here, that he probably isn't either. And Chris, welcome. So great conversation, you guys. Just really looking forward to continuing the conversation from the most recent quantum call. And so, all right, Tom. Yeah. Well, Tom, it's all I can say is that it's through an interpretation of what happened to me, and some people on the line have had some pretty crazy stuff happen to them too. So I know that I'm not alone in this one. We've uh, we've got some journeyers that have been on some pretty crazy rides. So, all right, guys. Hey, April. So great to have you guys all here. So, guys, onward and upward. And please do say hi. If you haven't yet said hi and you're on the line, I know there's a lot more than just the people that are saying hello now. And Irene, you gorgeous hunk of woman, you, and Brooke and Len, and yeah, it's great. So, what happened? Well, actually, I'll talk about that, Len, because I'm going to talk about it's a great question because it's a perfect question. Someone is asking a question in the chat room that that's a really good question that exemplifies exactly what we're going to talk about next. And what we're talking about next is around how much fluidity is actually possible. I mean, how fluid can we get? Now, why the heck would I have a quantum wake up call called How Much Fluidity is Possible? Why would there even be one called that? I mean, don't we want to talk about something else? Well, Analia, great to have you here too, Angel. Maybe not. Maybe, guys, maybe there is nothing better to talk about. Maybe when we talk about what's possible in the world of fluidity, it actually resonates at the frequency of that level of fluidity within us. Those little satellite dishes known as telomeres receive the frequency and activate all of the components necessary in the three-dimensional world to live that way. Another way of saying what I just said in English might go something like this. Maybe the act of creating the picture and activating the picture from a place of what's actually happened on this planet causes you to leap to the dimension where that level of fluidity is played out. Now, I know that every single person, I know that all of you have had tremendous fluidity on and off and on and off and on and off. All of you have had times where, miracles had become normals on and off and on and off. That is our natural state, I'm here to say. Really is a conversation, truly. I want to deepen your understanding in this quantum wake up call. Deepen your understanding profoundly. And I don't mean your mental understanding. We'll get your mind out of the way pretty fast. I mean, allow yourself to have the experience of what it might look like to live in a three-dimensional body with your higher levels in a dance that is fluid. I'm going to use the answer to the question that you asked, Len. What happened to my friend that lost his consulting practice? I'm going to answer that question actually as one of the examples. I'm going to go back to an example I used earlier from France where my sweetie and I were walking. We were in Toulouse. We stayed in a lovely hotel, and we were walking around having a good time, down the streets, looking at stores, and there were all these shops, and it was very markety and very beautiful and very old French, just like you would think it was. And there were big piazzas, like big squares here and there that had fountains in the middle, and you would just walk into them surprisedly and go, oh my God, this is so beautiful. What happened was, no matter where we turned, we kept coming back to the same church. Adam was trying to get away from the church because he really just had this powerful aversion, but it was almost like a magnet. And this same church kept showing up everywhere we turned. It kept showing, we would turn away from it deliberately and would come back around. It was like it was bending space because we were supposed to go in there, and I really wanted to go in. And I took a picture of the outside, and it was filled with angelic presences, energies all over the front of it. And we went in, and he sat at the back, and I said, just go with what's presenting. It's so fluid. We're being facilitated. And I walked around, and half of my pictures didn't turn out. But the half that did turn out were all saints. Saint Germain, particularly Saint Germain. And there were other saints that turned out as well, but that one sticks out in my mind. Jesus turned out. That a whole bunch of the storyboards didn't turn out, like the story was wrong. It's very interesting being shown that. The majesty of the place seemed incredible, but it seemed to be insignificant. It's like the pictures were trying to tell us a story. Adam was commenting on how much pain had been caused by the idea of religion, which is why he didn't particularly like being in churches because of the power struggle. And I said, conversely, you, big heart, and me and my big heart, a church that probably is one of the biggest here and so many people come to. Can you imagine truths where God is not separate into a place like this, that our higher levels would be constantly redirecting us to come back in here because of all the thousands of people that get affected by whoever visits? He left and was very powerful. So you got to get, our first journey was to the church. So this, I'm telling you about fluidity because you have to understand that when you're, even getting to France, I decided that it would be amazing to stay at a chateau in France with our flight school group. And I met an English woman who was doing marketing for a chateau in France that I didn't know that's what she was doing. I thought she was doing a documentary in Africa. We were talking for some bizarre reason, and she says, yeah, I'm doing a little marketing for a chateau in France. And I said, can you just book it? And we did. And that's how we found the chateau that had us end up in Toulouse, in the church. We walk out of the church. We're talking about it, having a great conversation, but we start seeing really funny people dressed up really funny. And then, it's Sunday, so you'd expect a little bit of activity, but then there are people singing in choirs, and we're thinking, this can't be a regular Sunday. And then all of a sudden we come around the corner, and it is one of the biggest and most delectable, juicy, radiant gay pride parades I had ever had the pleasure to witness. And the crowd was so gleeful. I mean, our faces hurt so much. And you can imagine, you guys, and the first person we saw was this gay man dressed as the Archbishop drinking a Coke. He was just, the juxtapositions were just a riot. And a drumming band, and I'll post a picture of a guy that had angel wings on, and this is what was going on before our eyes, just around the corner from the church. It was profoundly moving. Just true people just wanting to just be themselves, and having a great time doing it. How did we find the gay pride parade? I don't know. It wasn't exactly on a main street. How do we end up in a church first? I don't know. How did we find the flea market with the Peshat masks from the area where humanity was supposed to have originated? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that our higher levels, that day is a perfect example of the degree of fluidity that's possible for humanity. That experience is a perfect example of how we can dance with what's being shown us, what's coming before us, that we go on the journey of our lives with a sense of adventure. For those of you that are relatively cerebral and like plans, it's not like we didn't have a plan, but it's that you hold your plans very loosely and that you get the big picture. Do we want to go for a walk in Toulouse? Yep. That's where we are. Sounds like a good idea. Okay, great. Where did we find our hotel? Well, here. We like this area, so why don't we go back there? We have to go back there anyways because I forgot my cord. Oh, that's great, because I forgot my cord at my bed and breakfast. We were in the same area anyways, so that's what we got brought back to. Okay, we'll park here. Then we start walking, and there's a little flea market. The little flea market leads to this place, leads to that place. Before long, we're having these incredibly powerful things be shown us because we're holding the agenda loosely. Think of how many times you've been adamant about something going a certain way. You've been attached to a relationship ending up a certain way. You've been incredibly held in by, and hi Catherine in Australia, you've been incredibly held in by the rules of how it always has gone in the past, and if it doesn't go that way, something is wrong. Is the expectations and judgments that start to be the issue, guys. One of my little buddies, one of my wonderful friends and compatriots in this awakening is Will Linville, and I remember recently, Jeannie sent me an email. Jeannie, my beautiful chief and commander, Mission Control, sent me an email earlier, and her email was powerful, powerful, powerful. And so a little message that she just happened to be listening to by mistake, on purpose, of course, and passing it on to me. And I'm just going to see if I can find it for you. I think I'll just paraphrase it then. But it went something like this. It is this crazy, well, I'll say it in Jennifer words, it is this crazy, incessant need to be able to decide and choose. If we can just make a decision, then phew, we're at peace. If we can just have enough evidence for the right one, then gosh, we're okay. If we can just meet expectations, if we can have an expectation and then meet it, then gosh darn it, we're good enough. My God, if I did that, if I made an agenda for our, Wide Awakening adventures, we'd miss half of the amazement that happens on those. I mean, they're incredible. They're beyond words. But not because we planned everything, although we do, but because we hold it all very loosely. The cool thing is the plan gives your mind peace enough that you can be present. Let me say that again. It's like the plan of our walk and finding a little market, the plan gave our mind peace that we were going to do this and that, and we held it loosely because it was really, the plan was just a conduit to get us into the or better that we were meant to live. So I'm going to go back to Len's question, because Len, I want to answer your question. You asked, I love that too. It makes life fun. Totally, Kat. What is it that happened to that gentleman who had all these things happen? So imagine a very sensitive person. And then imagine that they're in a man's body that's told, not to be that sensitive, and knowing that he's somewhat in the not belonging club being that sensitive. In fact, for sure, he knows he's like very, in his family, there were tons of kids. And he was, everyone else was pragmatic and down to earth, and he was just not. So all he wanted to do was climb trees all the time. He just wanted to be out in nature. Now imagine what happens is abducted, and you know that it really happened, but nobody can validate it, and you can't tell anyone because it sounds just crazy, crazy, crazy. And you're afraid like anything. And you recount, finally someone will listen, you recount your story in a book, and you figure that because this guy and all the people in the book that are recounting their stories are talking about it, all of a sudden it's okay. Or it's getting more okay. And gosh, it's going to be on Oprah, so it must be really okay. Then you do that, and you basically lose everything. So here you all are telling your truth, being incredibly vulnerable. And then you're looking for some explanation, and you basically misinterpret the message of several channels saying that somehow you are special, you are the chosen one. It happened to you because you are this and you are that. And it goes to your head, and you can't understand why you're not thriving. So when I was with this particular person, what happened was there was a choice point. There were 3 or 4 times in our relationship where the fluidity of love was so deep, I can't even explain to you the heart openingness, the depths of the magic that existed that I don't even have words for. I don't even know the words for that. And I knew that the message that the channel was trying to tell him was a message. It's the same message I'm telling you. It's the same message I know about myself. We are all on that leading edge of the awakening. We're not special. That's just our piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth. It's not better than, less than. It's just what we're doing. In fact, it might be a little bit more dramatic than most people's. I don't know, because I'm not in other people's bodies. But the choice point came where instead of a life of fluidity, he would spend the rest of his life still seeking and trying to remain safe. Stay out of the scary world. And that is part of what happens. So they're not going to go. They're just not going to go. They make a fork in the road. You swear you thought they were going to, but they don't. For him, life continues to be simple, but a struggle. Yeah, very controlled. I continued on, and he's my reason for changing the world around him. He's one of my many reasons. Change the world around the people that you love. But dance in the fluidity, activate the fluidity, dance with what presents. Oh. And yes. Yeah. It's a pretty amazing thing to witness the not knowing on a trip. So hopefully, Len, that gives you a little bit of an idea of what happened. It kind of came to a point where we get to choose to go into the world of I don't know and dance with what presents. Or, which is very scary and takes a lot of courage, which is why I commend all of you for sure, because I know that's the journey that you're on. Or you choose a different path, and it has to be honored, you guys, because for really sensitive ones that are even too scared to learn the tools because they just don't want to go through the pain again, they don't. So what kind of fluidity is possible? Let's talk about how that kind of fluidity is attained. How? What are the tools? Well, first of all, the first and foremost tool, the most important tool that exists in this area, is the tool of getting the mind to matter. You will notice that I did not say getting the mind to shut up, because getting the mind to shut up would be something your ego would say. Good luck with trillions of neurosynaptic highways yammering on that you've practiced for, this entire lifetime, just instantaneously shutting up. The first step in all of this is taking the mind not seriously at all. The first step in all of this is to realize that all the mind is a set of procedures that have been set up in neurosynaptic roadways, maps, that when this happens in a relationship, you go down that path. When someone says a mean thing like this to you, this is the neurosynaptic highway that protects you. When something is happening out in the world, this is how you behave and this is what you do. When you're short, this is how you are. When you're tall, this is how you are. And they're neurosynaptic highways that your ego has set up to try to keep you safe. As soon as you realize that operating from the neurosynaptic highways of your brain has very little, if not absolutely nothing to do with infinite wisdom speaking through your 75 trillion telomeres, once you have that awareness, once you realize this is just dogma, it's literally, and I don't mean all your brain, I mean those neurosynaptic highways, they're simply what's well practiced. It does not mean anything about what's in the highest in the moment. Do you get the distinction? It's a very powerful distinction because I want to make it as black and white for your left and right brains as I possibly can, such that you can see it as blatantly as I experience it. It's blatant, it's obvious. Next is to have an awareness of what it feels like to be operating your life on autopilot, which is why earlier on I mentioned the example of when you get out of bed first thing in the morning. You already have an autopilot for the most part, which is why I spend probably a half an hour every morning lying in bed, actually just getting present to what my higher levels, to what's actually going on, or to even observing what the densities are that are floating around, but to distinguish them as entities. And then what happens is I get to choose the direction I want to go, because I'm not living from my mind. I'm not living from my left brain. I'm being redirected by life itself through my telomeres. I am not in control. I'm in a dance. And sometimes the dance is redirected. Sometimes the dance is redirected, and usually when it's being redirected, when you're in fluidity, it's totally comfortable. It's incredible. It's like flight. But when you're not, it feels quite uncomfortable. It feels like, oh my God, I need more sleep. Oh my gosh, it will just feel like a lot of resistance. You'll go through the motions, but there will be resistance. And then what you'll have to do is you'll have to rearrange the way you do things and let go of the holding on to things such that you can then open up and start to do them differently. And so the first step is recognize that how we've been living, yes, the cosmic 2x4 cat, exactly. How we've been living is we've been living according to these autopilots we've set up in the neurosynaptic highways. How we're designed to live, clearly, is 75 trillion cells with, by the way, 1,000 times 75 trillion telomeres in our bodies, communing with photon packages of information back and forth. Not like it's a woo-woo language, you guys, the language of fluidity. It isn't a woo-woo language. Why would the universe make it so difficult that everyone had to become a guru on a mountaintop to finally get to that state of fluidity? Of course not. Of course not. It is the language of life. Let me say that again. Life's language is fluidity. You are of nature, not in nature. You are nature. You are part of nature. Does an oak tree need instructions to drop an acorn? Does an acorn need instructions to become an oak tree? Does the cricket I'm listening to right now need a manual to do what he's doing? And then be eaten by a bird later, that then is eaten by a wolf, that then dies sometime in the future, becomes the ground, and some bug eats the ground that the cricket then eats. I mean, do we need instructions for any of this? Of course not. Of course not. I should say the blade of grass that comes from the ground that the cricket then eats. I don't think crickets eat bugs. Point being, guys, that life is dancing with you with the same fluidity. It's as though we've been living in a hologram, like in Star Trek, where it's like let's do the hologram of everybody compete with each other, everyone try to get it right, everyone read all the how-to books, everyone get all the steps proper, everyone look the way you're supposed to look, everyone do all these things, all this crazy stuff, and then we'll get it right, and then we'll finally be happy. So that's the little holodeck that we're living on. But over here is a completely, in fact, I want you to think of it even better than that. I will draw you a picture. In fact, it's more like this, okay? Let's see if you can see my picture. Of course, the universe doesn't have edges, but I'm pretending. Okay, let's say this is the entire universe, this big circle, okay? But it doesn't have edges, so you got to kind of pretend and work with me on this, okay? So the next thing is that within the creative essence of the entire universe, within the realm of all potentials and all possibilities, one of the ways in which you can live your life that you can create, because you're free to do that in the state of fluidity, you fluidly can create any paradigm. The paradigm, which is this little square right here, is called living in the density and trying really hard and with lots of effort. That's the paradigm. Okay? But you have to understand that the truth is all around it. The truth is that every potential exists, and all of these potentials, all of creation is communing with you, but it can only commune with you certain ways when you're living in the density. You understand what I'm saying? But but the problem is we didn't realize we're in a holodeck. So now what we're going to do is we're going to step off the holodeck and we're going to go over here and we're going to step into everythingness. Now we can understand this little world right over here. Like this little world, okay, I get you, I got you, I'm good. Then, got a little world. Good. There's rules. My brain can make up neurosynaptic highways. I'm good. But over here in this great big world, we're being communed with and communicated with to redirect outside of the realm. Now get this, you guys, really hear me when I say this. I want you to get this. It's outside of the realm of any belief system. It's not New Age beliefs. It's not Byron Katie's beliefs. It's not the dark side of light chaser beliefs. It's not Abraham Hicks beliefs. It's not Jennifer Huff beliefs. It's not anyone. It's not Buddhist. There's nothing. All there is your presence with the presence of life, dancing directly with the harmonic that is the love, which is the fastest and highest frequency three-dimensional energy to play with, this creative force of unconditional play and adventure, flying forward. And life operates in that, on this planet, life operates in that realm. That's where it operates. That's where it lives. That's where we're dancing and singing and playing. And when we let go of everything we think we know and hold it all incredibly loosely, we get to go on the journey of a lifetime. So and Analia, I know you live in this state of fluidly dancing with whatever absolutely presents. And always want to look at the degree to which it's safe to thrive, the degree to which the world is ready to see us and we're ready to be seen. There is so the next ingredient. So we've got ingredients, right? I want to be sure everyone's got the ingredients down. The first ingredient is the fact that there's the way your brain lives, and that's where we've been living. And then there's, of course, dancing directly with your telomeres, which is a completely different way of living. So realizing that the mind does not hold the answers. It just holds a roadmap for living in a certain hologram. Okay? The next is that you don't need beliefs. That beliefs are interesting and they hold some validity and they're nice. However, no matter what, the universe is going to be dancing with you inside the energy that you are. And when the filters are held loosely, the universe has more resources to work with because you're not restricting the resources that are available to the universe. How you know if you have filters is if life is showing up a certain way and it continues to repeat patterns that you may not like, there are filters on the information that you receive, and usually at this stage of our awakening, it's because you have some pretty, your ego has built some pretty strong bridges to run away from whatever is waiting you know, that it really doesn't want you to experience the fullness because there's something in a past life or this life. The solution to that, to excavate your past, or is the solution to that giving yourself evidence of your magnificence and what's possible? That's the question. Do you want to spend the rest of your life excavating? So there's another one. So we talked about beliefs. Another one is expectations. When you have expectations of how something should be, those expectations are from your ego, creating parameters around which, if it follows these rules, then you're safe and things will go well. I love it, Kat. Yeah, straight from Get Out of Your Way, huh? I'd rather have wings than a shovel. I'm with you, girlfriend. It's great. I love it. Sounds like a soul mail coming up, Kat. So you guys, expectations. That you should have all the facts. That you need to know the direction. That a course should be run a certain way. That you know, your shoes should look a certain way. You should be this skinny. You should, I mean, there's a million of them. My God, they're everywhere. It's all egoic paradigms that we've made up in order to keep ourselves small. If you actually embodied all that you were, you would find out that, you know, expectations become irrelevant. Because when the universe can deliver the or better in any moment, simply by you following what presents, which by the way isn't available when you follow expectations, because when you follow expectations, you basically have a predictable outcome. Why? All because you can feel safe. Right? And it's not you can feel safe, it's your ego can feel safe. It's not even you. You're expansive. You're incredible. And Irene, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. So many of us are witnessing that right now. This is what the awakening is. The awakening is awakening to the idea that the expectations are boring. They truly are. They're yawn. They're If you want to have an expectation, expect the or better. How's that? Then you'll be looking for it wherever you go. Expect the adventure. Expect an opening. Even expect that what your ego would judge as yucky, can only be your higher levels redirecting you to something that's the or better, right? It can only be that. If you are creation expressed, you're not in creation expressed by creation. You are creation expressed in the 3 dimensions. How could it be anything but the or better? How could it be anything but in service to you? How could anything that happens to you be anything but the best thing that ever happened to you? Kat, I'm thinking of you right now. Right? So, Questions so far, you guys? Questions, questions, questions. Please make sure you ask. Right? I think I want to go to a place next. Yes, and judgment, Irene, for sure, is attached to the expectations. Where I want to go next is to the word ease. What the heck is ease? I mean, what the heck is ease? What is it? What does it mean? I mean, fluidity we can kind of get. Everything flows and it's, moving around and expanding here, and maybe it slows you down there, and it's perfect when it slows you down, it's perfect when it expands, it's all good. It's, it's perfect. Even though my breakup with that person I was talking about earlier was really pretty painful because, I had an expectation of the journey we were going on to, and it was a reasonable expectation because I get shown the trajectory, get shown the trajectories of every person that I work with. And when that disappears as a possibility, it's just, it's a horrible feeling. Was that easy? It actually was easy. Jennifer, didn't you cry? Didn't you stomp your feet? Didn't you say, why universe? This partnership of, we're a full yes and da 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 da. Weren't you upset? Yeah. When someone is headed a different direction, Catherine, I want to say to you, you don't shut the head off. You absolutely don't shut your head off. Let's say something is really painful. It's just, it's like you lost your best friend. They moved, to another country far away, or someone you love just died. You just are going to miss their physical presence, because you like it and you're used to it and you love it and all that kind of stuff. Or you have a big breakup. How the hell can that be easy? I mean, really, how is that easy? Why did I even mention ease in the title of the Quantum Wake-Up Call? Why? Why is ease even a word in the title of this Quantum Wake-Up Call? Because isn't it about fluidity and you just don't judge? Is ease a judgment word? Like, does it polarize? Well, no. Ease means that you end the judgment of what happens. Let me say it again. You stop judging what happens. Catherine, for you, if you assume that you are creation expressed, that everything that happens to you in this time of great awakening can be nothing but a blessing, that you can't see it yet, or that your ego doesn't want to see it, is, none of my business and none of your business. But in this time of great awakening, moves us to understand that ease does not mean it won't be emotional. Having emotions, there's nothing wrong with that. Having feelings about things instead of emotions, because emotions can be an emotional reaction. But having a feeling about something, being sad or being angry, you don't judge being angry or being sad. That makes it effortless, easy. It's judgment of the emotion that causes the issue, not the feeling itself. You are designed to have feelings. The feelings are a directive mechanism to show you this way or that way. It's part of your telomeric, essence to have feelings. The lack of ease can only come when you judge. I'm going to give you an example of this. So I'm lying in a bathtub. This is several years ago, 2-3 years ago. I'm lying in a bathtub. I'm thinking, how can the alignment have happened and all this love be felt? And I can't believe the journey that I was supposed to be going on. And I feel so much pain for the missing of that journey and the missing of the person. To myself, I should not feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to be in this state. I don't want to have, so judgment, judgment, judgment. And my little indigo bratty self would say it should be another way. Why? Instead of the alternative, which would sound something like this. The entire universe is of me. I am eternal. And in a body on a planet, as I remember that more and more, as I embody that more and more, I'm allowed to be sad. I'm allowed to be vulnerable in its purest form. I'm also allowed to move through that experience and out the other side for the or better. And the faster I allow myself to be down or depressed or angry or sad, the faster I have the best worst day ever, or best worst week ever. The more I dive into it, which sometimes these days I can dive into it to such an extent that I can't even take myself seriously anymore because I laugh at how funny it starts to become. And then what happens? Well, what happens is ebbs and flows of the beauty of this incredible life. The judgment ceases and the ease begins, and it doesn't mean you don't have emotions. You have not having feelings. This is about experiencing the realm of feelings. Are like, no, I'm not going to get angry. Well, why not? I was angry yesterday. Boy, I'll tell you, I was on a call with flight school, and I was trying to get on one, and I just couldn't get how this live stream thing was working or not working, and I was stomping my feet and I was just so mad. I'm like, these people are waiting for me, and I have to, just real, And I wasn't judging the anger at all. I was letting it rip. I loved it. It was fantastic. It's such a relief. Sometimes you can get out so much just from letting yourself be what it is. But look at all the parameters we've been taught by our mothers, by our fathers, by our society, by our church, by our whatever it is. You can't have that. You can't have those. You can have the good feelings. I mean, God forbid you should get depressed and feel powerless. Sheesh Louise, don't do that. Or, well, if you'd only feel depressed, because it's so much better than angry. Angry gets so ugly. But at least if someone got angry when they were depressed, at least they take some of their power back, right? What would happen if we stopped judging that? There would be effortless ease and flow. That's what. How many of you judge when someone is depressed or judge when someone is angry? Right? Just look. And I'm so glad, Irene, that fluidity just found you with respect to your dad. Yay! Me too, actually. Yeah. Actually, I didn't judge some feelings that I was having too, and some really cool things happened when I wasn't trying to get it right and I was simply being of love and assistance. Amazing shifts. The or better happens. I think Chris Kadji shared something earlier about that too. But I can give you an example of the cottage this weekend with my parents. Very funny. And gosh almighty, my dad, who's been, he's just a little curmudgeonly. He's a little reactive, nothing's ever good enough, or at least it hadn't been in the past, although he's softened as he's gotten older. What's really cool is of course, so listen to this one, you guys. This is fluidity. This is ease. This is a perfect example. This will activate the living daylights out of you. This is so cool. So, we get up to the cottage. It's around noon. My parents have had guests who were engineers. They were engineers. Engineers. So very linear, detail-y. They get put up in the little bunkie, just one bedroom little bunkie off to the side of the cottage. And they have a great time. They love it. They leave. Adam and I get there. We go to the bunkie. We just decide. We're walking around. We say hi to our parents, have a little lunch. We go and lie down. Just go and have a nap. And do a reset. We lie down. And all of a sudden I hear whoosh. Just like torrents of water from somewhere. And I'm thinking, what the heck is that? What I get is that there's a flood because the one of the pipes is broken. Not while the engineer was there, while I was lying there. So funny. Lo and behold, funny enough, we start taking charge. Now, normally my dad would have blown up. My dad was like, "Oh, we'll deal with it later." Well, we basically cleaned up the whole thing, took up the linoleum, put fans on the. My dad was so impressed and so grateful, which is just not the way he generally is, because instead of reacting like a 3-year-old who's afraid to not do it right, I just listened to what presented and what needed to be done. So I did. And I did it. And it full circled so many things for me. Because it's like responding to my father, responding to the events like a divine child of God would, with my telomeres, instead of with my history and with my head. I was really, I love that little house. So I was really, freaking out, but I didn't judge the freaking out. I didn't judge the pipe bursting. And I witnessed my father being incredibly grateful and a total shift in energy. I wonder why the pipe burst then. Why did it pipe burst with the engineers? I wonder why my dad didn't feel like doing that stuff when usually he's so industrious. And I got to get the crowbar out and take the cord around off and undo the linoleum, and I got to see that I could do it. I get to go on, I got to invent new ways of drying out floor. So guys, that is a dance of fluidity. Ha 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 ha! It's a dance of fluidity. Of course, it was a flood. But I digress. So guys, what is there to learn from this? What are the keys to this particular call? What are the absolutes? What do you need to know? What's important? What's paramount from this particular call about ease and fluidity, ease and flow in your life? Well, with respect to ease, it's about having your emotions, having your feelings, but not judging them, and knowing that that's our part of the design of human being is to have feelings and to relish them, to relish this human experience. No feeling is bad. It's just fascinating and deep and delicious. Next is that fluidity or flow happens when you dance with what's in front of you. You don't know when your father is going to come full circle and basically treat you like you've always thought that he would. You don't know what the event is that's happening that you think is like the worst thing that ever happened to you, and what the end result of it is. If you are a divine child of an infinite universe, and you are creation itself expressed, then how can everything that presents be anything but what's in your highest? Your job is to engage it. That is fluidity. It is going from the head to the heart of every cell. It is understanding, first and foremost, that the head is simply a well-practiced habit. And it is designed fundamentally, this neurosynaptic highways are designed fundamentally to cope with a world that's based on density, dog eat dog, and competitiveness. Instant, you can distinguish that from dancing with all of life like an acorn. You're truly free. And that is this particular distinction, my lovelies. So I'd love for you to write in and let me know what your favorite aspects of this call are. So just writing in to ask what was helpful, what did you see, what was good to hear, and I just really want to thank you guys for this first round of quantum wake up calls. If again, I'm going to say to you guys, if you have not yet signed up for the innate abilities training, I really want you to go and check it out. I mean, it's all about this kind of fluidity. It's about doing it now. So would love to have you guys there. And I'm just deeply appreciative of all of you being a part of this awakening journey and these quantum wake-up calls. And I will catch up with many of you the 29th this weekend. Just sending out so much love and so many hugs and lots of mwah. And we will definitely be, and I'm just reading here, we will definitely be communing together again soon in our next quantum wake-up call next month. Listen to these a few times. I think you'll keep hearing new aspects for yourself. Most certainly, the video will be available to you. I think I am not sure actually where the replay will be available. I think we'll probably have to develop a Facebook page for our quantum wake-up callers so that you guys can commune together, and we'll be able to post the quantum wake-up calls there. So I think you'll get an email with the unedited call. So anyways, guys, I love you madly. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great rest of your week. Remember, the head is not to be taken seriously. You'll get a very good sense of it this Saturday. I know most of you will be joining us. And I love you. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.